Okay.
All right.
John Chu.
Here.
Robert Coleman.
Here.
And Craig Subek.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, and then also on the phone, I believe, is Ben Masafari with the Uptown Wine Merchant as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. All right. So I guess, Craig, we'll start the meeting and go from there. The first item is the public comment, and we didn't get any letters received before the meeting, so I'm not aware of any public comment that's being requested at this time.
Okay. So we got sent over some of these minutes from March 17, 2020 and June 16, 2020. I was unable to find the June 16, 2020 minutes, and when I was sent over, I only received the 3/17/2020 meeting. So.
Yes. So it appears right now, so we were not able to get the June 16th, so we can try to get that. And then based on the members that are present, we do not have a quorum to vote on the March 17th. So both sets of minutes will need to be continued to the August meeting instead.
Okay. So we are planning to have an August meeting then?
At this point, yes, that is the tentative plan. Certainly, I will communicate with you if the plan changes or if we need to make some deviation. We can coordinate that as we approach August, if that's okay.
Sure, that works.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so board vacancy appointment.
Okay, so this is a continuation from last meeting's discussion topic, which was, as the Uptown Association recalls, Jim Frisch had resigned. We had confirmed what the process could be used to refill that position. His position runs until the end of 2021, and so the board had directed staff to solicit those that had also ran during that election period. That includes Scott Daniels and Ben Masafari. For that position, Scott Daniels indicated he did not have the availability. However, Ben indicated that he was interested, and so the board, based on the 16th meeting, had requested that Ben attend so that they can ask any questions before making any decision either for or that vacancy appointment.
Okay. So do any of the board members have any questions of Ben at this point?
I don't.
No, I'm happy to see that he's here and interested in serving on the board. I think he'd make a great board member.
Thank you.
Ben, you want to take a moment and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I run and own Uptown Wine Merchant, and then I also own the property there on the corner of Yucaipa and First Street, where Jitter's Coffee is on First Street. There's Ruby's Ice Cream and what used to be Fire Pizza.
Okay.
All right. Anyone have any other questions for Ben? Okay. Let's put a motion on the floor then to fill that vacancy, and that would give us 7 members, correct?
Yes.
That would give us the full 7 members of the roster.
Okay.
I so move.
We have a second?
I second. This is John Chu. I second for the appointment.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we'll do, just given the teleconference format, we'll do a roll call vote, if that's okay. Just
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go through John Chu.
Yes.
Okay. Robert Coleman.
Yes.
Pat Butner,
Yes.
and Craig Suve.
Yes.
All right, that is a affirmative vote, and so welcome Ben to the Uptown Association.
Cool.
All right.
And we'll send you your list of rules and guidelines here in a little bit, so don't worry about that. They'll get you dialed in.
Okay, thank you so much.
This is John Chu. Can I have Ben's last name?
It's Mozafari.
How do you spell that?
It's Mozafs as in Frank ARI.
ALI. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, special event, YPAC.
Hi everyone, it's Mary Johnson here. I'm here to give you an update on special events and the Performing Arts Center. As for special events, unfortunately, we had to cancel our Uptown Friday night events. The County of San Bernardino said, no, we can't have them, even if we social distance, as it would still be considered a gathering event. And so same goes for our concerts in the park that were actually in the community park at the Yucaipa Community Center. We had to cancel those as well. And so I just wanted to give you that update. As soon as the state and the county allow for outdoor gatherings at all, or with social distancing or with masks, we're going to do everything that we can to host events, to bring people out and to shop at local businesses and everything. So right now we have our drive-in movies that are every Wednesday night. Tomorrow night and the next Wednesday, and the next Wednesday's movie will be our last movie of the series. The Performing Arts Center, the only update that I have for you guys is that we canceled all of our outdoor summer series through September. I believe at the last meeting I had updated you that we weren't quite sure about our September show, but we have canceled our outdoor shows for the summer at the YPAC. And same with events, we're just kind of playing it by ear, just waiting for the state, and we will try to open our doors as soon as we can, but I'll definitely keep you all updated.
So Mary, what's the current function of the YPAC at this point with all these restrictions?
We actually have the facility completely 100% closed. We have no staff operating out of that facility at all. What we're trying to do is, once the state allows us to and our county allows us to, is to rent out the facility to private rentals. Kind of like we do with our community centers, the community center and the Sure Center, use it as a rentable space. But for now, we're just kind of, at the hands of the state, and I'm sure like many other people.
Right.
Does anyone have any other questions for me? Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, moving ahead, elections.
Yep, so it's that time of year. So there is the part of the Uptown Association is up for essentially nominations for those positions. So there are 3 positions that are about to end, which is John Chu, John Semester, and Craig Suvet. And so we have sent out the nomination forms to the Uptown. You are able to one, either nominate yourself or someone else that would like to participate. And so we would like to receive those nominations back, need to be back by August 6th, so that we have enough time to then mail out the official voting elements for that to fulfill those 3 positions that would be up for another 2-year term cycle. And so just want to give everyone an update that is certainly in process. And certainly those that are currently on the board that would like to continue to participate can nominate themselves. Or if there's other people that you guys would like to see participate as well, that is certainly every member can do so.
This is John Chiu. Have questions?
Yes.
Yeah. When the nomination paper will be mailed to us?
They were mailed out on July 11th, 2020.
Oh, has already sent out already?
Yep.
Did you not?
Mail. Okay, I have not received it yet.
Okay, let us know if you don't, and we can make arrangements to get that sent out or to print.
I can send you guys some nominations. I can send you it electronically, and then if you also have like people that are in the Uptown that you would like to nominate, or you can say, hey, look at this, and give them a nomination form. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll send that electronically to all of you. I think I did, but maybe I didn't.
Yeah, for the record, I didn't receive one either.
You did or didn't?
Did not.
Or did not? Okay. So I'll send that when I get back to my desk. I'll send that to you guys. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that really is the only update. So we will make sure that a digital copy is sent out as well, and then certainly those that would like to send in any nominations from the Uptown is encouraged and welcome to do so.
Very good.
When is the deadline to submit the nomination paper?
August 6th.
August 6th is the deadline for receiving the
August
nominations.
5th? August 5th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, I've only received one nomination form. I can't remember. It's from a new person, a woman, but I can't remember her name. So.
Okay, should we move on to number 7?
Yeah, nothing too much to report at the moment, other than just some efforts that we're doing here at the city. As many are aware, with the increase in COVID-related incidences in a number of different counties, including San Bernardino County, the state or the governor did issue a order essentially closing certain personal care services for indoor use. Some clarifying guidance was provided from Department of Consumer Affairs yesterday afternoon, allowing for those facilities to possibly operate outdoors. So these are facilities such as salons and barbershops. Even with the state order, the original license requirements for those did not allow outdoor operation. However, that has changed. So right now I am in the process of developing, similar to the COVID temporary use permit free application for restaurants and similar establishments, one that will be in effect for those as well. So if a salon, barbershop, or even massage would like to operate outdoors, following the guidance that's being provided for those respective industries, we will have a free application review to help kind of make sure that they're doing it safely, kind of know what the state guidelines are, and then at least providing kind of the gap measure in place while the indoor prohibition remains in effect. And so just wanted to provide an update for everyone, since there are a few of those establishments in Uptown that may be able to participate in that, among other sites throughout the community as well. But definitely trying to give as much flexibility as that is allowed by the state to allow certain businesses to keep the doors open while implementing other provisions to keep everyone safe. And so just wanted to give that update for everyone. Hopefully that will be ready to go sometime tomorrow. I've been working on it today, right before this meeting as well. So.
Okay, Ben, this is Pat. Just pointing fact on that. The fire department will not allow extension cords in any way, shape, or form, either in a business or outside. Therefore, doing hair out on the sidewalk, per se, or a patio is against fire rules. So that kind of puts crux in the plan there. Also, how would you wash somebody's hair that has chemical in it if you don't have a sink on the outside? The drainage problem and the chemicals are going to be an issue.
Yeah, so as part of the statewide guidance from the Department of Consumer Affairs, the chemical and the hair washing stuff will not be allowed. So it'll be strictly just limited to haircuts. Yeah. Okay. And they do have some additional provisions for the dealing with soil products and other stuff, so hair clippings and other stuff. They have kind of a list. We're trying to just work within some of those frameworks and develop a strategy to help give the greatest light or ability for that. And then certainly I will follow up with the extension cords. I know certainly for barbershops, they may not have quite the same constraints, but it sounds like probably for the hair salons where they're doing curling or other kind of stylistic stuff, maybe a much bigger hurdle to get through. And so I'll try to follow up and give guidance or try to find a solution for that in the best way I can.
Yeah, okay, because there's a lot of little rules.
Yes, it's a very complicated endeavor, even with the state, as part of the governor's order. The way it sounded was you're not allowed to do indoors, so council asked at the Monday city council meeting last week, or last week is, okay, if we can't do it indoors, can we do it outdoors? And it seemed to suggest that, but the Department of Consumer Affairs was pretty adamant that unless additional guidance was provided to them to allow for that, they couldn't do that. And so that just recently happened, and I think everyone's kind of clamoring to figure out the best way to execute that.
Okay. Thank you.
Ben, this is Craig. Has the city entertained the concept of taking a block or 2 blocks somewhere in the city, similar to what they've done on State Street in Redlands, and basically providing temporary use permits to conduct business outside? It would seem to me that it's been quite successful there. It's a much more streamlined approach than we have here. I know these temporary use permits for businesses are a little bit involved. And so trying to make it easier for businesses to operate, I think, would be pretty wise.
So that I'll kind of discuss 2 different components. Most right now, the temporary use permit set up specifically for restaurants is a pretty easy process. Really, it's figuring out where the spaces will be taken up. We've actually helped facilitate some of those at the counter and help draw the plans just to figure out where the seats were going and highlight where ADA spots are to make sure that we're not avoiding those. And it seems to be pretty well received along that front. Most of those type of businesses certainly are kind of scattered within existing shopping centers where they won't necessarily benefit from the roadway closure. However, if there is a few businesses in the Uptown that would like to pursue that, if you have a kind of a list, I'd be happy to discuss with you maybe more of the logistics on that and figuring out an approach to do that. I've seen what Redlands has done with their State Street stuff. It's a really cool environment that they've set up for a few days of the week to have State Street closed to allow for some of those spaces to use up. And if there's an interest to do that with some of the businesses and close down, let's say hypothetically California Street, to do so, I'd be very happy to just discuss with you a little bit more detail on those businesses and kind of what the needs and would be for that space, and then creating the mechanism to execute that and have that be done as quickly as we can.
Okay. All right.
I
Well,
guess just quickly as part of that, I would say, Craig, you and I should have a discussion a little bit more detailed on that. But right now, since we have the Uptown board, would there be support in the Uptown Association having potential roadway closures to do something similar to what State Street is doing in Redlands, where, let's say Friday and Saturday night, the street gets opened up for those entities and be able to allow a little bit more commerce to happen in that public right away. And that way, as we start working on logistics, we at least have the Uptown Association's overall blessing moving forward with that.
well, I haven't talked to all the business owners, but I certainly have talked to enough to know that there is certainly support for that. So we can discuss that, but I know the interest is definitely there. So. Okay, I guess as there is something that I would like to bring to the board's attention, and I believe it was at the last meeting, Larry Turner requested the city to supply us with an itemized breakdown of all the various expenditures relative to the Uptown. And I found it to be quite enlightening personally, and had a number of questions about it. So we'd like to see if we can get some clarification on some of these things. So I guess the first question I would have is, when we look at the budget, year-to-date actual and estimated actual, on any of these particular categories, whether they're irrigation, electrical, security, et cetera, it's pretty confusing to me. Can you explain what estimated actual is? It would seem to me it would be either or.
Say that again, just to clarify.
Okay, so we're looking at all these different expenditures in the Uptown, and pertaining to Districts 1, District 2. So we're looking at things like irrigation, electrical, security, maintenance, etc. And there's 3 categories listed for each. One's a budgetary consideration, one is a year-to-date actual, and I guess that would be what was actually invoiced and paid, and then there's estimated actual. So it's confusing to me what exactly estimated actual is and how that differs from year-to-date actual.
I fortunately don't have the budget sheet in front of me, but my recollection of what you're discussing is, since some of those bills had not been received at the time of that preparation, that's more of the accounting of, based on what we expect to be charged, let's say for certain utilities, is they're putting a placeholder in that to kind of finish off what it should be, and then as it gets reconciled later on, then that's when you confirm what that total number is. So there's a few where, let's say, the security company waiting for that final bill to be submitted in and paid out. We won't want to necessarily have that number at the time for creating that kind of full fiscal year number, but at least gives us a point to know as we finish up that fiscal year, we know kind of what that number, that total should be.
But then you base your balance on supposed figures rather than actual figures that have been paid. And there's quite a difference between those two.
Yeah, especially with respect to the security fees, Ben. I mean, they're estimated for, March through June. But do we have a specific invoice for that? And it's a little, it's even more confusing because if you compare District 1 and District 2, District 1 is, I think, a couple of blocks. District 2 is twice the size, and there's a discrepancy in the amount of monies that are being paid in the two districts. So I was wondering if you could clarify that.
I'm trying to see if I can get Courtney here. Yes.
Is there any reason why you guys are giving us an accrual accounting instead of a cash basis?
Well, I'm kind of right now trying to get the budget, so give me 1 second.
Is that the way the city normally runs their budget, is on the accrual accounting forms, or they do a cash basis? Because it sounds to me like you're running an accrual, spending the money that's not been spent yet, just anticipating it being spent. When what we're asking for is a cash basis. We want to know exactly what's spent. Should be a click of a button on your computer program, whichever you're utilizing, or counting software, just to give us a cash basis.
Office that I asked him for. So I went and I asked the finance guy about that, and he said it is just an estimate, and at the end of the year they will adjust it, and it will just be the actual. So for instance, if it said,
no, I understand the finance language and what you're talking about. What I'm asking for is a cash basis. We want to know what was actually spent and where it's at. I don't need the accrual basis, which is what they are giving us. I want a cash basis. I think that's what the board's been asking for.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, matter of fact, dealing with a lot of budgets and everything, it's not typical for you to see an accrual basis come across. So I'm kind of curious why we're getting an accrual basis. Tell the accountant we'd like to see a cash basis accounting.
Is Ryan free?
Brian's sitting with David or Fred Bork right now.
Can grab him though.
Go grab him? Okay. Let me go grab Ryan, okay?
We're gonna grab the finance manager real quick if we can.
And Ben, do we know? Does anyone on the board? I guess it's just an open-ended question to everyone. Do we know who this Heather Barger is?
No clue.
Well, she was paid $750 for a week of consultation. And the question I have is, for what was the consultation for? And I don't ever remember considering that or approving it or anything like that. So that's potentially a problem.
And I can look into that. I think it was related to some Uptown related marketing. She was a marketing consultant. And may have been helping with the restaurant facade improvement stuff, but I was not around or not part of the the Uptown board activities at that time. So I'll
Well,
need to.
I don't believe the board approved that unless I missed something. Does any other board member remember
No,
being brought before the board?
no,
So,
not at
So
all.
Brian's on his way.
So I will investigate that further.
as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, going back to the charter of where this is at, unless we have some sort of another vote where we change the P-bid, I don't believe any of those funds can be used for marketing and advertising research.
You might be right, Robert. You might be
Yeah.
right.
He is right.
He is correct.
That was
Okay.
an issue. Yeah, that was
Okay.
an issue. Mhm.
Yeah.
So Ryan will be here in a minute. He was just ending with a meeting. Ryan Blackerby is our new finance guy. Here he comes. Hello. We're just on teleconference with the Uptown.
Okay. So they had some questions on the Uptown budget, the stuff that Courtney helped. Okay. Prepare. And so I guess the question that's outstanding is about it being cash basis. Or Robert, would you like to describe your question?
Robert?
Yeah, I'm here, sorry. A lot of what we're looking for is we're just looking for a simple accounting just to see what has been spent, what's actually out there, and maybe give it a comparison as far as the budget of the previous year, not the future year. So they're definitely looking for more of the cash basis as far as what has been spent, not the accrual basis as far as what items they have budgeted and obligated for in the future. Are you able to provide something like that?
Yes, I mean, at any point, if we want to run a report for what the actuals are at any given point in the year, that kind of report can be run.
Perfect. That's what we're looking for. If we could get one of those for the same numbers that you ran previously, we'd appreciate that. That gives us a better understanding of where we are and what actual funds are out there versus what you guys have budgeted. Was that it, guys, for the finance?
Not quite. Robert, my thought is I would like to recommend to this board, and certainly we can put it to vote, that we manage our own finances. We elect a treasurer to manage it, and we know exactly what comes and what goes and for what. That would be my suggestion, as opposed to relying on the city to provide us this information. Because even if they do provide it, we're still going to be in a situation where a lot of this stuff is never approved. So this has been an ongoing problem.
I agree. We need our own checking account.
Yeah, and it doesn't just relate to the finances, it relates to special events, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Sure. Well, I definitely understand the frustration. Just to be frank, I don't have the background on on this topic right now to be able to give any feedback. I definitely hear what you're saying, though. We'd have to have another discussion some other time to be able to address that.
well, I don't know how the board feels on that, if they want to entertain a vote on that.
Just for disclosure purposes, since it is an item that was brought up for the agenda, we do have to agendize it and have that noticed first. And so we can certainly bring that back to discuss the Uptown Board finances at the next meeting. We can certainly do that, but taking a vote on it that wasn't on the agenda before would be a violation of the Brown Act.
No, that's fine. I know that the Brown Act has been suspended in certain respects.
Yeah, the Brown Act only certainly suspends the ability to have everyone at the meeting. It allows for the teleconference, but it does not suspend the disclosure requirements for posting of an agenda or the contents to be made of a meeting.
Okay. All right. So if Chris can put that on the agenda for next month, we will have that period of time to think about it and potentially put that to a vote of the board.
Okay, got it.
So,
Does anyone have any more questions for Ryan?
I don't.
No.
I don't. Hey, Ryan, is there any possible way you might be able to get us the for the year? I mean, it's 7 months in. You guys have paid a lot of bills, and just provide that to Ben so he can email us the actuals.
Yes, I can.
Basis before you get out of here.
Yeah,
It'll checks a month to you guys right now to this account, maybe like 4 or 5, so it shouldn't be a whole lot.
Okay, we can get that by tomorrow.
Perfect, I appreciate that.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, other than the budget discussion, is there any other items for the next meeting?
Yeah, I'd like.
There is. So, has anyone seen the proposed mural drawing that's supposed to be at the parking lot there on California Street, the first
Nope.
block there?
No.
Well,
Okay, so this is another issue of the Uptown Association not being duly notified of enough of these specifics as to what's going on. This past week, I had to field a complaint from the lessee of that property. I believe it's Jam Black property. But he complained to me about it and asked me about it, and I was honest and said, well, I've never seen it. I don't know. I know there's a proposal to have a mural painted there, but that's about it. And so basically, I think this is pretty much complete, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't believe this board has even seen it or approved it.
Well, just, I guess to clarify, so the Uptown Board did have the discussions early on about the mural going to be there, and was the Uptown or the Public Art Committee is the one that has the recommendation authority for council on the actual artwork for within the city. So they're the ones that are reviewing proposed artwork within the community and going from there. So certainly I think the participation with the Public Art Committee would be, for those that are interested in public art, would be a good forum to participate in.
But that's still an issue that has to come before the Uptown Board, before it's okayed by a city.
Ben,
We have to approve that.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Pat. I'm thinking that's overlapping jurisdiction as far as boards and committees go. You talk about where we're at and what we're supposed to be doing. That's
Exactly.
kind of right up the Uptown board is paint facade and everything that's on there. Be it art in public places or whatever you want to call it. That's something that should come back to this.
And from what it sounds like, that committee is the one that's empowered, this art committee is the one that's empowered to approve this.
Is that true, Ben?
The Public Art Committee is the one that does, if I recall correctly, is the one that makes recommendations on public art within the community to city council. I'm not a part of the Public Art Committee or a liaison to that. That's through community services.
But they are not part of the Uptown board either.
No,
So they just can't arbitrarily say, oh, we're going to do this in the Uptown, and we're supposed to say yes? No.
Unless they submit it to the Uptown. I mean, the art committee can submit it to us, and we can submit it to city council. I don't understand that. That does not make sense to me.
So are you, I guess, to clarify, asking that the public art committee, whose foundation purpose is to review public art proposals, provide a recommendation to the Uptown board that would then forward the recommendation to city council? Is that
Correct.
the workflow?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Because otherwise, at this point, my recommendation to the board would be not to approve anything at this point. Nothing is approved. That is something that affects the interest of the Uptown businesses. So, and this particular gentleman pointed out a couple of things that was very interesting, including liability issues. And they were well taken, and I understood where he was coming from, and I don't even know if they were addressed. So,
has there been any participation from interested parties in the Uptown for the public art committee for them to voice their concerns?
there has been interest from business owners in the Uptown that would be interested in having their voice heard at that committee and potentially influencing what is done concerning that mural.
Okay, so those meetings are on the second Thursday of the month.
I'm not sure what that. I think 4.
But I can get that information on when those meetings are scheduled, and certainly as similar to this committee, the public comment period is provided so that those that do have a vested interest are able to voice their either support, concern, or
Hey, Ben, I think you're missing this. You're missing the point here, bud.
Yeah.
The point is not that we're coming from a public comment standpoint. The point is, if you read the way this Uptown stuff is written, be it the city, be it whoever, if they want to paint their building or do something up there of that, anything up there, they're supposed to come before the board and say, hey, this is what we got going. Just to make sure it keeps running with the continuity of the style, the architecture style that you have up there. That is the main purpose of this board. And to hear that you guys bypassed it again, is kind of disheartening. And to hear that you don't even understand where the direction that we're going at this point, and I'm not trying to beat you up, but it's not a public comment. What should happen in this situation is you should have your public art committee board that goes out and says, hey, this is what we have going. By the way, this is what we decided on. Uptown committee, since you are the elected representatives of the Uptown Business District, what are your thoughts on this? And then have it go to council. It's not we're the public, we're joining their committee and we're being overwhelmed. They're coming to us asking for the permission, saying this is what we want to do. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
I agree with you, but yeah. I think we should just like reviewing the architectural design, whatever improvement, that they should notify us. So after we establish the ad hoc committee, so the committee should also have the chance to review that also.
Exactly. Ben, everybody on this board's got that. Do you understand that?
I guess I have not been following what the mural design is. I don't know what the design is or the current status of that. But I do want to, I guess, make it clear what the distinction of the roles are. The public art committee is the one that is specifically tasked for reviewing public art facilities.
They are, but then you have an overlapping jurisdiction as far as when it's in the Uptown.
The rules are pretty clear. Whatever is taking place in the Uptown must come before our board for approval before any other steps are taken. That is the way it's set up.
Right.
Yep, and we need to enforce that. I think, Ben, an underlying problem here is, and it's something I tried to cure over a year ago, was we have a major communication breakdown in the Uptown. I tried through Paul, and of course, it was met with complete failure, not surprisingly, to have a Uptown business community board where businesses could communicate about different issues in the Uptown affecting their businesses. And it's really embarrassing to have business owners approach board members to talk about issues impacting the Uptown when the board members have no idea what they're talking about. And there are no open lines of communication. And that is a major problem. It is not difficult to set up a point, whether it's online, whatever, a website, devoid of any advertising for a business, a place where the businesses can go to communicate about what's going on. And we don't have that. None of the businesses have any idea what's going on up there. And the board is oftentimes left in the dark as well. And that's something that needs to be addressed.
To clarify that the open line of communication, what were your, I'm happy to explore ideas.
Paul was supposed to set up essentially a website, a 1 or 2 page website where all the businesses in the Uptown would have access to it and they could communicate. And he came back with some ridiculous argument that, the city could only write a check for it. And we said, no, it just basically would come out of, an account every month, like a debit account. You pay for that. I mean, it's nominal. We had looked into it. We had done the research. We had somebody that was going to set it up. And it was like, no, not going to happen. This is ridiculous.
I don't quite follow what the format is, but if you have information on it, I'd be happy to explore that further. I'm trying to visualize kind of what you're talking about, and kind of.
Does the Chamber of Commerce have something, a website somewhere online? You can go to Yucaipa City Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, they do.
Okay, well then we want one for the Uptown. Simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want Uptown specific website? Is there content you want on it, or?
I realize you probably, it's not about advertising businesses. That's not what it's about. It's about business owners in the Uptown sharing their concerns, whatever it is, vagrants, crime, special events. So businesses know, hey, my street's going to be shut down today for these 4 hours on these dates, or whatever it happens to be.
Hey, Craig?
Yeah.
With this, Ben's here, Ben's new, Ben's not Paul. Ben wasn't here for all of that. I'd like to give Ben the benefit of the doubt and make a recommendation that we add this to next month's agenda.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Study session. I don't want this to be a beat up on Ben night, but I'd like to.
No, I don't intend that either, Robert. I don't
go in that direction.
Ben, so yeah,
we can move on with tonight's business. I'd like to see us add that to next month's agenda.
Okay. If Chris can do that, I'd appreciate it.
And just
one more thing on the financial report. There's a gopher and rodent maintenance that was added to our expenses at $679 per district. I would like to know why and who okayed that.
So the gopher, that's because it's not covered under the landscape maintenance contract. It's a separate contractor that does that.
But nobody told us they were going to do that or ask us. It's just in the expenses.
To not have gopher service?
Okay, we pay the landscaper a set amount of money per year. He's under contract. But where and who is the gopher and rodent maintenance? Who okayed that expense? Who okayed that work to be done? It was never brought to the board. And yet we paid for it.
But that ties in with the landscape maintenance is just a separate contractor that provides that service. So if you don't have the gopher control or that pest management, that would destroy the landscaping, and then you would have a much more substantive cost to address.
Sure, if there are gophers and if there is a problem, at this point in time, no one on either district has seen a gopher or anything like that. So where is this work being done? I'd like to see the invoice on that. That's $1,300 out of our bank account for what? And nobody knew about it, but it's there.
Well, hey, I got a question. Ben, this is something new, but Pat, have you been paying attention to this for the last 6 to 8 years? Have you ever seen that charge there before?
No, this is the first. I went back.
What's going on there?
So I don't know quite the history, but as the board may recall, before the city did, or city staff was doing some of the landscape maintenance stuff, and so then they were handling that stuff, and it was just as part of that overall billing. But now that it's under a landscape maintenance contractor, they don't do the pest management. It's a separate entity that does that.
But we always had a landscaper. We've always had a landscape contract. Daniels was before that. And we weren't charged a gopher and rodent fee. You can go back on any of the fiscal reports and look. We were never charged that, and now we are.
Okay, for a time, city staff was doing that. It may be that
the city staff was doing gopher maintenance.
Probably just the pest control.
I don't think so. But it's quite the charge, and it just appeared out of nowhere. So, I'd like an explanation on that and clarification.
Yeah, why the price discrepancy too between the two districts is the other part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That doesn't make sense.
District 1 charged more than District 2. Something very strange about this whole thing.
Yeah, I agree that what Pat just said, that anything that we need to do, so we should know, bring that up for discussion at the meeting.
Yes,
before
prior
we do
to.
anything.
And that is part of the contract drawn up in 2014, that we were to be notified prior to any kind of activity like that in the Uptown. And you've gone around us many, many times, and it's getting old. You're violating the contract between city and the Uptown.
Well, the city did agree, if you recall, Pat, that I would have my signature on any event, on construction that came before the Uptown. I would sign off of it, go to council. I've not done that.
Nope. And you're supposed to have at least minimum 2 weeks notice before anything.
True. That's part of it as well.
And that has not happened.
Nope.
And yet all these things are continuing to happen. And it's like, oh, guess what? We're doing this. I don't think so.
Well, as a matter of routine, I think what the board needs to do, and we will have to vote on these as they arise, but we just need, as a board, to just deny summarily all of them. Any item that we are not notified of, it's just going to be, will be denied.
I agree. Across the board on that. I'm tired of them going around us every time. And then there's always an excuse. Oh, they didn't get the final sign off by council prior to blah, blah, blah. That doesn't wash.
I guess I'm struggling to follow this a little bit. Every kind of project or development project that's being submitted, I have brought to the Uptown board. We had created, though we have not done the appointment for the subcommittee, for the three-person subcommittee for that. There hasn't been a project that has necessitated that review at this component, but that has been the process. There was a construction project that did happen Uptown, but that was the water district, not the city, and so we don't have purview over their construction projects or their scheduling.
Okay, point in fact. On the night of the meeting, Chris sent us 3 letters about the property that the lawyer leased or was going to lease to the construction company. That was already undertaken before it was ever brought to our board. And when I questioned Ray about it, his answer was, well, we didn't get the final okay on it, council, till Tuesday. There again, you went around us and brought it to us after the fact. The fence had already been put up, the whole 9.
Okay, the fence was put up. The temporary use permit for that use had just been submitted the day before we had posted the agenda. So you had reviewed the application at the same time staff had reviewed that application. The notion that we had already approved the entire temporary use permit before taking it to the Uptown board is simply untrue. It was noticed, it was routed at the same exact time, and we purposely made sure that we were doing that and brought that to the Uptown as soon as we received that application. Now, in terms
we were never told prior. We were never said, oh, hey, somebody is thinking about leasing their property. Nobody told us prior to it happening until the day of the meeting. And the letters that were sent by email by Chris from the owner, the lease, and a person who was a character reference.
So they submitted their request or their public comment as part of that item to discuss it. The project was never approved before the Uptown meeting. That is not true at all. The project was submitted, and as soon as it was received to city staff, I can't provide to the Uptown board theoretical ideas on projects before they're submitted. I get so many calls on ideas every single day, but once an application is actually submitted, paid for, to be reviewed by staff before any sort of application or reviewed by a plan commission or city council, that's when that project review process is initiated. And that is the process that was undertaken for this application, consistent with what the request is for the Uptown board. But I cannot take a project that is not submitted and merely an idea of something that they may want to do to that. Now, in terms of the temporary fence, we don't require permits for fencing anyways, so I don't have any guidance on that or what they were doing there, but that's a constraint I have. But as soon as that project was turned in, I was being transparent and honest and earnest to get that project reviewed and provided to Uptown board before any action at the staff level for that particular application occurred. Now, to clarify on the agenda for the next meeting, Craig, you had mentioned the avenue for Uptown businesses to discuss. Is that just like a website, or is there another?
This is Megan. I came in. Ben just asked if I would come down here. I believe Devin came to an Uptown Association meeting that I was at, and recommended a Facebook group be created. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about something separate?
Exactly. You felt that was the most cost effective and the most efficient at what we needed to accomplish, and that was not pursued by the city.
So I had a staff go business to business to get businesses like Facebook name so that we can add them into the group. We have 5 businesses that are in there now, but let me work on that with Ben, and I think I can help because I understand what you're wanting. What the goal is, a platform where you guys can communicate, and we can communicate with you, all the businesses, landowners, everybody together.
Correct.
Okay, so Ben and I can work on that together, and then we can talk about it at the next meeting to see if we're able to accomplish what you're asking for.
Yeah, I'm happy to explore it. We can add that to the meeting, and then if there is certain topical areas that would be helpful to kind of, as kind of the platform perspective or kind of the information, we can try to find the best solution to accommodate that. That's not a problem. Happy to hear ideas on that, and we can find something that is effective for the purposes that you guys are looking for.
All right, sounds like it's going to be a pretty busy August meeting.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I just said it sounds like it's going to be a pretty busy August Uptown Association meeting.
Hey, Megan, I got to ask real quick, since you sent a staffer out, you only got 5 businesses. I briefly remember that a long time ago. What was the reason for such the lackluster response?
People said that they didn't want to give their, either their business didn't have a Facebook page, and then they were going to have to give their personal one, and they didn't want to do that. Or they said that they weren't interested, Robert, I think maybe you can help. Maybe I can come down there with my staff and chat with you on how we can approach businesses better. What our staff said is they seemed they had a city logo shirt on. It was Samantha. I don't know if you guys all know who she is. But she said they just seemed very unsure of it, unsure of the, who exactly was organizing it. We tried to explain it, and they just said they weren't interested. Maybe if we have a letter by the board or something, saying what it is or what the purpose is, that might help them to understand what we're trying to do, what the goal is.
Definitely. Well, ultimately, to add them to that, have you guys sent out requests? Because most of Facebook's something that's public. Everybody's out there looking for that. Did you guys just go on Facebook and see who was out there and then send them a request to go to the page?
No, it's a private page. And so we were...
Well, even then, you can send them an invite to their public pages to say, join our private page, can't you?
Well, the hard part is, you can have a page, right, that says, Megan's Treats, but we don't really know, is that you, is that business, is that your business? And so what our goal was to talk to you first and then send the request over to you. But we can definitely try the avenue. Any ideas you have, I do think this is a great idea, and I do think it can help. So I'm willing to do anything to make this work.
I would probably, the only note I could add, having dealt with community pages or kind of very focused groups, is the moderation of that group will probably be important, just to make sure, one, that there aren't people that aren't affiliated kind of trolling, so to speak, that page, since that does happen. And then that way, and then also just kind of monitoring discussions to make sure that they're constructive. Certainly there can be criticisms or other discussion points, but just making sure that they don't go too off kilter, because that can be, having dealt with different or observed other pages, something that can happen. And so it's just important that someone's tasked to help make sure that it's a positive and constructive environment for getting the information and the discussion and outreach that's wanted, versus just it becoming off tangent and not constructive. So, but that's just more an operational characteristic, not necessarily a big issue one way or another, just something to that whoever's kind of in charge of that will want to keep in mind. Is there anything else?
Can I bring up another issue? This is John Chu.
Yeah.
Okay. This is regarding security. Okay, in the past, there's some incident that happened at night. The people go up to vandalize the air conditioning on top of the roof, and then I would like to bring that to the attention of the security guard. So when they do the patrol, make sure take a look at that also. If there's any unusual activity, people trying to vandalize stuff on top of the roof, or whatever, they should report to the police as well.
So are they trying to get like the copper or electrical copper stuff?
Yeah,
okay.
The air conditioner mostly they go up and vandalize and cut their coppers, and I think they take it out to sell it. So I just want to inform the patrol security guard to look at that more also when they're doing the patrol.
Will do. I will communicate that with the security company to make sure that they're following up on that space as well as part of their patrols.
Thank you, Ben.
Anything else?
Good. Hey, Ben, what do you know about that? Since you brought up the restaurants in downtown Redlands area, how did that all come together? Was that a chamber-led event? Was that city-led event? I'm kind of trying to figure out who took the lead down there, or was that businesses that brought that to the city?
I believe it was a coordinated effort between the city and the businesses. I think a lot of the restaurants that front along State Street had done that. Certainly, I can reach out to my contacts at Redlands to kind of get a little bit more detail on how it was set up, but I believe it was kind of a mutual discussion point. I'm definitely, I think it's a cool idea. Certainly our COVID TV format right now is really set up for kind of the majority of establishments where they are in either their own parking lot area or a shopping center. And then we did provide a more of a streamlined approach for the public right of way for the sidewalk in the Uptown, but certainly I'm happy to try to work with any interested parties in the Uptown to do seeing about the feasibility for closing that and doing diamond seating out into the street or having some sort of expanded space. And if there's some entities that want to do it, we can try to figure out the best roadway. Certainly Redlands, with most of their businesses or kind of the restaurants fronting along State Street, only had to shut down one roadway where we have kind of the perpendicular streets. And so trying to figure out those logistics. But if anyone is interested, Craig, if you want to reach out to me and we can kind of meet with some of the other interested parties and kind of see what that logistics are. I think that'd be a kind of phenomenal opportunity if there's a lot of support from those entities to do that. And it'd be a pretty fun event to try to see if we can make that work if there's that interest.
Okay.
Well, with that being said, Craig, is that something that you want to try to pursue there on California Street?
I know there's several businesses that are interested. I'm not sure strategically where the best place to do it is, though. So, yeah, there's a lot to be thought about there. So, unless, I don't know if you've thought of that, but...
In this case, I'm one of those individuals that's truly blessed. I've got a pretty good outside patio. Unfortunately, a lot of my peers don't have that, and I'm feeling for them. I think it'd be something incredible to see that go, or see it go that way. I don't know if you, Ben, have the time to really push that, or if that's a direction that you go, or if that's a Megan thing, but I'm actually kind of shocked that we're behind the 8 ball or behind the curve so far. And we haven't really started pushing this. Isn't that a chamber event or something like that where they're able to go out and modify this, make this go this way? Usually it's not going to be one individual led, it'll be more city led.
Right. Well, I think it's definitely a good idea for the city to take the initiative on that front for its businesses, obviously.
Well, I think kind of having the lay of the land in the Uptown, it needs to be a collaborative approach. I mean, my understanding is that it was very much for Redlands, as an example, collaboration. But I would encourage, if that's something we do want to see, Craig, you and I can discuss. It could be some combination of, maybe tailoring to maybe some of the restaurants where they have kind of the fixed accommodations. That maybe limit what they can do, or where they can go, and then maybe some of the other entities. Craig, your facility and Ben's wine shop, whether or not if there's a way to move stuff around. But definitely we'll need to have a good idea of kind of who's interested, where that concentration is, and then kind of what the flexibility of individual other participants, and kind of where that can get narrowed down to provide that space.
Well, Ben, I got to ask, how much staff time do you have to allocate towards this process? Because this is something where if we wait until August, that's another 30 days. That's a long time. I think this is something that you guys ought to expedite, fast track, and have another follow-up meeting with this next week early, so that we can get something going. There's a lot of businesses out there that are going to be starving. PPP loans are running out, and people are hurting.
And as it stands now in the Uptown, it's a ghost town. I mean, on the weekends, we've managed to stay busy, but I look around and I feel for some of these businesses. There's nothing going on in the Uptown. So, yeah, it's a real problem. And especially, we don't have the function of the wide packs. There's nothing going on there. So what's going to draw people to the Uptown? It's definitely a problem.
Ben, are you able to meet sometime next week?
It will. I would say so. Probably community services has probably the greatest capacity to help with at least the staff power to move that along. But if you want to set up a meeting where you and I and Megan can meet early next week, I think that'd be fantastic. Maybe sometime Monday. I somehow got called in for jury duty, and so I don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday and kind of following that. Certainly very strange times for that service to happen. But Monday,
at 8 o'clock. Why don't we schedule a 7, or you get City Hall at what, 6, 7? What time are you there?
City Hall officially opens at 7:30, so we can try to do early 7:30 and start off the week, and let's do a game plan. I think it'll be a cool idea.
Definitely.
Certainly,
Meg,
if
you're okay with that, I'd like to invite, well, I don't know, is this something, Uptown Committee guys, is this something that you would want to limit to only the Uptown restaurants, or are we talking possibly be able to invite some area businesses, restaurants from all over the city to have in certain areas?
I would say the only one thing we'll have to consider, or at least a potential constraint, is just the limitations on gatherings. And so it's threading that needle to be compliant with state and county orders. I don't know how much wiggle room we have, but we can certainly try to, as long as we're coloring within the lines, but at the limit, we can try to figure out that best approach. But so that's my only caveat, is we'll just want to make sure we're mindful that there is at some point a limit on getting to the gathering, but maybe a way we can figure out the space and the interest list and kind of push the envelope from there.
Okay.
Well, I'm good for Monday morning. Do you guys want to, who else wants to attend to that?
Monday that should work for me.
So Monday at 7:30. So far I have Craig, Ben, and Megan, and who else?
Oh, it's Robert.
Ben, are you in?
I'll be there.
You know,
Or Ben Mosafari?
Ben.
I just want to chime in. I love what Redlands has done, and I think it'd be really cool to bring it to the Uptown area. I know a lot of those businesses that are participating and kind of taking over the middle of the street and shutting down the street. There are a lot of restaurants that double as bars and have full liquor licenses, and they're very close to each other. So if they just close down that one street, it makes sense for them. For me, I know that because I don't have any food or I don't have a kitchen on premise, I wouldn't even be able to go outside. So I've kind of put a stop to that for now. And I know Scott Daniels with Yucaipa is doing the same thing. And then Uptowner being where he's located, I could imagine he's not really utilizing, or, we're just so far spaced out. I could see, Panda Max, they set up seats outside. There's, other restaurants. I don't know how many, but I can only think of Panda Max on California. Maybe a couple of the taco shops, but it could be a hard thing to accomplish. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is just the way my thought process is. Because when Mario had his pizza place, my next door neighbor, I contracted with him, and that's how I was able to stay open. Was, hey, if you buy a pizza next door, you could use my patio, sit out there, enjoy your wine with a slice of pizza. But I know Scott's not even utilizing his patio, and I know he's not doing outdoor as well. So ABC does go around and give warning, stating that, you got to have food or you got to contract with someone that does. So it could be tricky. I'm sure there's some loopholes, but I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, Ben, I think you'd be a good one to sit on the committee. Do you want to join us 7:30 Monday?
I'll be there.
Okay, I'll send you guys an invitation, okay?
Yeah, and just one other
be
thing.
Okay if we invited a chamber rep?
Sure, who do you want?
I don't have a preference. I'm asking the committee members. Craig, Ben?
From the Chamber of Commerce. You want to invite someone from the Chamber of Commerce, you said?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. I think this is part of the job that they should be doing, and it could be a good asset now to help.
The only person I know from the chamber is Ellen. If Ellen is a good option for you guys, if you want to ask her, or I could ask her if you'd like.
I think we've got a pretty good rapport. I'm sure they've got their individuals at the chamber to reach out to.
Yeah, I'm sure they can make a selection.
I can ask Ellen, and then she can either go herself or suggest someone.
Yeah, I think if we do a street closure, it's trying to promote food trucks to come up to the area, kind of how the breweries are doing it in Redlands, where they combine their alcohol sales with food purchases. I think that'd be really cool, and try to keep it socially distanced.
And that could be something that we maybe that's to overcome some of the impediments that you discussed, Ben. Maybe that's a potential solution we can explore as a way to get around. Really, my goal is to give as much flexibility to, one, make sure everyone's still very safe and being prudent, but then two, give tools to be successful as well in light of everything that's going on.
Yeah, when you take over the street, you have a lot of space to, spread out, as long as we have the right tables and chairs set up properly prior. And then if you work out, payment processing according to ABC, you should be fine with, hey, you could grab a drink, grab some food, sit over here outside in the street, and the food trucks would be probably a really good way. Or, even working with caterers, like, you get Mario to come out and service pizzas, or even if you had Panda Max somehow involved, or whoever really you want to consider.
You know what? I'd really like to see this stay more towards the brick and mortars that are there, and not so much the caterers and the.
I don't disagree. I can only think of. off the top of my head, I'm thinking there's Artiaga's and there's Panda Max's. Am I missing anyone else?
Well, even then, I mean, we could use a brick and mortar that does catering down the road. You've got lots of them. Everybody in town seems to do that.
Right.
But I definitely like to see somebody who's in the Uptown that has that area. I think this should be to benefit those businesses first in our area, because that's the board that we represent. And then secondly,
Absolutely.
those businesses that are maybe outside of our area, but in our city that have a brick and mortar.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm all for that.
So, Monday, 7:30. Are you going to send out a teleconference number, Ben?
Do you guys want to do teleconference, or you want to try to do it in person? Since it'll be a smaller
I'm
group.
okay either way.
I prefer the telecom. Well, I don't know. Tell you what, you guys run your ideas, see where it's at. At this point, with everything going the way it's going, I'd much rather do a teleconference.
I'd agree. That works for me.
Teleconference, you said?
Yes,
Okay.
for me.
We'll get that set up and we'll do a teleconference. That's not that we can do.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else?
I have a quick question. This is my first time sitting in on this meeting, but just to understand how this committee works do I just chime in on topics that I want to see discussed in next meetings, and we can sit down and discuss them, really?
That is correct. So as part of a kind of public meeting, we do have to notice what the agenda topics will be. And so the last item that we have before we adjourn is new items for next meeting. So if there's a issue or topic or event that we want to discuss next meeting, we can highlight it. That way I can anticipate the draft agenda ahead of time versus kind of dividing those topics. And so, yeah, this would be kind of the forum. If there's something, a discussion point that you think should be explored further, we can use this as the avenue to kind of create the placeholder for the next meeting.
I see. Well, one thing I'd like to see discussed is making the Uptown area more attractive for businesses. I know I'm currently in the process of trying to bring in a new business, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for it to be another food establishment. But how can we make it attractive for businesses to come up and open up a restaurant or a eatery, and who's interested? Does anyone know of anyone that's interested or looking for a space, or just kind of a forum really of how we can talk to people. I know a couple of people have reached out to me that they know are interested in looking in the Uptown area and opening a business in the Uptown.
Okay. Oh, Ben, I'd like to, I don't know, you know that the city has a grant for the restaurants.
I have heard about
so
the
you might check with that, with that Ben.
I have. I just recently.
Oh, you have the information?
I do. I talked to Ray Casey about that, and there's a potential restaurant that wants to come in and do some tenant improvement to open up a barbecue establishment of some sort. That was one of them. But just finding more spaces for these guys that want to come in and giving them incentives. I mean, I see a lot of vacancies, and I don't understand why they're not being leased out or why people aren't working with them more, because I see more than one approaching me just for my little space. And it's a good stepping stone.
Then you're addressing something that I have worked on tirelessly for the past 2 years. Between Devin and I, we have brought at least 30 businesses that had interest in opening in the Uptown.
Yeah.
Do you see any of them?
I've been talking to a couple people, and I have a space that's available, but I see so many more spaces, and how did we get in touch with these people? And again, like, I went out of my way to get the pizza to come in, and now that it's more turnkey, the next business that wants to come in is very eager and willing. And I have a couple more spaces that are have a lot of potential, but it's just how can I get them in there and just help them out. If there's anyone that that's looking for a space, give them my number. Let me show them the space that I have available that might work for them.
Yeah, I'll join you in a minute.
Good.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. I got another meeting starting right now. I'm going to have to sign off. Ben, welcome to the board. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, we can be, we are adjourned then.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's Monday.
All right. Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye. See you at the next
Thank you,
meeting.
guys. Bye.